Yesterday, there was a big thing happened, okay? And by the way, it's due in part. You guys have good friend of the streaming competency to blame for at least half of this, because it was his tweeting that sparked this getting leaked, I guess. I think. So basically, Incompetency finished Metaphor, and he tweeted a bunch of cut content from the game. No spoilers, but there's a really slim chance a half of Metaphor was cut. A lot of big things, okay? And this, I think, is what sparked a lot of discussion around the idea of a re-release. Because of this, okay, eventually people are kind of talking about it, and then, good acquaintance of the stream, Ramona, who previously leaked some things about, like Persona 6 adjacent stuff and whatnot, tweeted out, okay, at this point I'll just tweet it out. Metaphor ReFantazio Retold is an expanded release of the game. Not my info, but I've known and vaguely insinuated it for a bit until yesterday. I think their source is, yeah, Ryan from the Bronx. The next stream we got intense entry, there's no gameplay. So apparently he was, like, memeing about it a little bit. Oh no, this is fake, I lied. Apparently he did tweet something about it, though. SMTM Metaphor on Netflix. Is that what Retold is referring to? Kind of nosy. Retold is referring to an expanded re-release. Why did this get so many likes? It's a Discord guy told me. Guys, this is the Midori. Do people not know? Wait, people actually don't know. Not necessarily doubting you. Do you have a source on all these leaks? Google Midori, yeah. I don't... What do you mean? This was a big thing! I think they said somewhere. Oh. If you remember when Ryan vaguely tweeted Metaphor Retold, you can infer from there, but he dropped that bomb a few weeks ago to, like, 2 months, a few weeks to like 2 months back in a public Discord. Can screenshot, but I'm trying to be careful since legal action has been taken. So I hope that's understandable. So yeah, apparently this might actually be a thing. I talked about this a little bit in the past. I thought Metaphor wouldn't get a re-release. When people asked me, I said it was probably... Oh, there we go. See, Remote is in the chat now, so there. When I said that I thought Metaphor would probably get DLC, I thought that was kind of likely. I didn't think a re-release was in the cards, but apparently that might not be the case anymore. This has sparked a lot of discourse, okay? A lot of people based in True. A lot of stuff happening now, and I guess today we're just gonna talk about it. If you haven't seen this video on my channel, where me and... Oh, nice. Advertisement. Hold on. Let's go. Yes. Yes! Can I get another one? Can we get another? No. Okay. This is like a 3-hour debate between me and Incompetency on re-releases. I think, he's come a little bit more onto my side since then. But, this was a really long discussion, and I think it did a pretty good job of summing up, my arguments for why a re-release isn't like inherently a bad thing. Basically, what I try to make known, I don't think re-releases are inherently bad. I don't think you can really make the argument in blanket statement anything. Like, even microtransactions, I don't think are inherently bad things. It probably depends more on the way that it's executed, right? The way that it's applied, the way that it's done. If we look at Atlus's history of re-releases, I can probably point out to you some that I think are good and some that I think are bad. Vengeance is an easy one, though that probably is in part because the original SMT5 is lacking in some places. But Persona 5, the original version of Persona 5, I don't think is, like, unfinished in really any areas, yet I still think Royal is a really good re-release that expanded upon it and was, like, justified. Something I don't think might have been as justified was something like Persona 4 Golden. Now, there are arguments about accessibility of these games. For example, Persona 4 Golden God brought it to a new platform, the PS Vita. So you can kind of argue that the re-release was justified because of that, but from a content perspective, I personally don't think the content was worth it. I don't like these blanket statements of like, no, actually it doesn't matter, a re-release is never good, ever, and we could always just do it through DLC. That's not true, and I argue it here. If you understand anything about how game development works, like, actually no, fuck game development, because I don't understand anything about how game development works. If you understand how just business works, and commodities under capitalism, okay, it should be really obvious that budgets and time constraints and things like that are factors when you're making commodities like video games. The idea that things that are done in re-releases can be done in DLC, even if, I don't even know if that's practically true. I don't even know if you could do things like ignoring the third semester in Royal, for example, just all the enhancements to the existing game. I don't even know how much of that you could do through DLC practically, but considering things like budget and time, in DLC versus an entirely new game that's being sold for double the price that a DLC would normally be, it's never going to be comparable. Even SMT5, base SMT5 is good, all things considered. Yeah, and I think it is. And that's where things get a little difficult. People are throwing the word unfinished around a lot in ways that I think are kind of crazy. I think an easy example of an unfinished game would be the original version of Cyberpunk 2077 when it first came out. That was, by all accounts, like probably an unfinished game. There was definitely, I think the developers admitted it, like it needed more time, and they kind of, I guess they're just forced to release it early. And that's, I mean, the game was already delayed like twice, right? Clearly that game had some development issues, and that happens. Then there's like a second tier that's a little bit harder to describe in the sense that something like SMT5, where certain aspects are certainly finished and some are probably unfinished, like the story. I think they even admit in the Vengeance interviews that, like, yeah, SMT5, like we kind of had to rush something. I don't think it was supposed to come out this way. So that's harder because now it's the idea of something unfinished is kind of an opinion in and of itself, but that one's like, well, how do we judge if this is unfinished? Because some parts of it are certainly finished, but some aren't, and it's like, but generally, people did like base SMT5, yeah. Is that Subway Surfers? I think when we did this discussion, I was playing some Flash game, and then I had to focus more on the discussion, so I switched to Subway Surfers, and then we did the Minecraft parkour. Fucking Zoomers, man. I can't have discussions anymore where you just look at me. You need something to look at, alright? Fucking hell. Yeah, I think that's the way that I would look at re-releases. I don't like the blanket statements that re-releases are inherently outdated. In a way they are. For example, back in the day, okay, things that realistically could have been DLC would only be able to exist via re-release. Like if you were on the PS2, for example, where you can't release a DLC for your game, that's not really a thing yet. So you kind of have to just do a full re-release. And now, things like that don't have to be done via re-release anymore. They can be done through DLC, and I agree. And I think some things should be done like that. But I don't think all things can be done like that. There's definitely still a place for re-releases. There's definitely still things that a re-release can do that a DLC can't. I feel like there's a lot of, quite frankly, entitlement in this fucking community, and people don't understand how any of this stuff works, yeah. I think people are using DLC and re-releases like the same thing, and like the same things can be achieved via them, and like it doesn't matter what the price of the game is, it doesn't matter what the price of the DLC is, it doesn't matter the amount of time they're given, it'll always come out the same. It seems to be the assumption, which is insane. Okay? J-Stock moment? God, this guy knows the in-depth TGG lore, Jesus. Thank you for the Minecraft parkour screen, son. Thank you, no problem, alright? I try my best. For example, I'll give an easy example of something that should have been DLC, and was. The episode I guess stuff, if they released Persona 3 Reloaded, alright? And it was just the episode I guess stuff, that would have been weird. I don't think there's no reason, that probably made most sense as DLC. Now, anything's possible. Maybe they do an expanded release and it improves over the original game too, and it's, oh my god, this was actually justified. Thank god they did this re-release. I guess anything's possible, but I think it made the most sense to do something like that via DLC. That seemed to make sense. Now, some people would argue it shouldn't have been DLC at all, and it should have been in the base game. That's, like it should have been included with Reload. That's fine, but always make them make this concession, okay? If you believe that, you have to admit that if it was in the base game, it would not be as expansive as it is right now, okay? The episode I guess we currently have only exists in its current state because it's a DLC, okay? More time, higher budgets, because you're spending more money. If this was included with the American prices, hold on. The $70 base game, okay, it would not have been as expansive as that. And if you think that's okay, that's fine. I might agree. I don't even like episode X that much, so I might be inclined to agree. But just know that like it wouldn't just be this, but again, this only exists in its current state because it cost more money, because it was released as a DLC for $35 or whatever dollars, and because I have more time. Yeah, I think when they dropped the first trailer for this, I think Midori had talked formerly, you know what I mean. Midori had said that the game was in localization stages when they had dropped that trailer, and that makes sense because I'm pretty sure that first trailer was in Japanese, right? They didn't even have English. Okay, not this one. This is the launch trailer. This is when it came out. DLC trailer. This one?
Awaken to wonder.
Oh my god.
Final Fantasy
Yes!
14 online.
I do want to play Final Fantasy 14 online, thank you. This is not it either. Where's the first one they dropped? what was it? I don't remember. Like, teaser? Well, guys, I'm throwing. Hold on. Anyone know? When was the oh, this one. Here. I think. I hope. 9 months ago? March? This is it. This has got to be it. Yes! Okay, thank God. Yeah, this is the English trailer, but the English voice acting seemingly wasn't even at a point where they could release it in a state for the trailer, right? The name for Midori? Well, I think just saying Ryan is fine. But they were Midori at the time. Did that alert not have audio? I didn't hear it. Hold on. Did that fix my alerts? Am I throwing today? Is nothing set up properly? I hope so. To go March? Hold on. I hope. Yeah? I hope. The name for Midori? Oh no, it didn't. Cool. Alright, thank you, Big Cheese, for $15! You're nuts! You're crazy. Alright? Oh yeah, by the way, first stream of 2025, Happy New Year's, guys, and Happy Merry Christmas. That one. A lot of things happened in between the last stream, okay? But, you know, we're in this. The second day. Second day and we're already back to discourse. We did it, guys. We did it! Anyways, yeah. All this to say, I don't think these terms should be used interchangeably. I think there is merit to both ideas. Oh, and Big Cheese had, yeah, $5 earlier. Oh my god, I missed it. I'm sorry. Thank you, Big Cheese. Big Cheese, banger name. So is Metaphor getting a re-release? So if you believe this tweet, then yeah, apparently. Retold sounds like a fake name, by the way. A lot of people would joke about Metaphor getting a re-release when it came out, and they would use this name, Retold. People who definitely didn't know. Like, hold on, if we scroll back. Yeah, look, November 9th. When is Metaphor ReFantazio Retold going to be released? What did this person know? What did Kirby know, huh? What did they know? Sounds like the easiest name to go for, Retold. Another one, December. December. Retold is such a weird name, but that's what Brian is insisting on right now. If he didn't nuke his account, I'd show you the first instance of it. I think it was originally tweeted in October. Me and Rena were talking about it the day of. October, isn't that when the game came out? Was it like shortly after? Oh yeah, October 10th. Sheesh. Defending this and owning Twitter users derogatory is cool and all, but you have to admit, as a consumer, it sucks to not even be done with the base game. You're already hearing about an expanded release that makes your own version obsolete. Well, I don't agree with the obsolete argument either. Like, I think the idea that... Okay, hold on. I tweeted this recently. We're just gonna do this, okay? Schrodinger's unfinished game. If Metaphor does not get a re-release, the game was finished and it's 10 out of 10 Kino. If Metaphor does get a re-release, the game was unfinished and I regret buying it and supporting Katsura #Hitler. It's bad business, okay? If something is unfinished or like it's not like you would make that judgment regardless of a re-release. I don't like this like after the fact like, oh, actually, I'm upset that this game didn't have X amount of content now. Like, that would be something you decide when the game's already out, right? And then the idea of it being obsolete, I mean, in what way? Like, is it no longer the definitive version of the game? Sure. But, like, if I were to watch, like, the original theatrical release of Star Trek and now the director's cut, like, is that, like, an obsolete version? I guess in the fact that there is a version with more content, but, like, if... I don't understand. Yeah, I just don't get... Like, for example, I recommend people play Persona 5 Royal and not original Persona 5, because I think Royal is much better, and I think Royal is the better version of the game. That being said, like, I wouldn't call the original game bad, and I wouldn't be like, oh my god... How could you play vanilla P5? It's the worst game ever. Like, I don't, like, so is it obsolete? I guess, but I don't like the connotation that word has. Like, it's only obsolete in the sense it's no longer the best version of the game. Oh my god, high quality end with the 100 bits. I don't hear any of my alerts, and I feel like something's wrong. But it's okay. Screenments worst streamer of 2025. True. Already. I'm coming for the worst streamer award. Day fucking 2! October 22nd. So was this already... Oh, October 22nd. Damn, so they were on that quick. They were like, alright, let's get this re-release cooking. Oh, no. Oh, no. Is it a P5 versus P5R situation, or is it more a P3 versus P3 FES? I don't know if there's a way of knowing, but I would assume it's closer to Royal than FES. I give examples of re-releases I don't know if they were justified. FES might fall under that umbrella. The FES is a better version of Persona 3. Even if you don't like the answer, all the... enhancements they made to the gameplay of the original game definitely makes it the better version. Sorry, when I say it's the best version of Persona 3, I mean between the original two versions. You could argue portable or reload for different reasons. But, FES is probably a re-release of, like, this was all they... like, to me, I was like, I don't know if that's a re-release that was justified. But it was back in the PS2 days when you can update games, so it might have more of a pass there. But it didn't even give the game more accessibility. I think both versions of the game were exclusive to the PS2, right? So... well, like, what I'm saying is, like, I don't think re-releases are always good. I'm not gonna, like, sit here and be like, oh my god, yes, Atlus, feed me more re-releases. Oh my god, I want to buy more. I want to give you guys so much money. Like, it's not like that either. I'm not, like, pro or anti-re-release. I'm just pro waiting until they happen to see if we actually I'm not pro blanket statement, okay? I'm not pro, like, going, oh my god, this is the end of the world, they're doing another re-release. Like, I don't think they're inherently good or bad things. I don't even believe this of things like microtransactions. I think they can be applied good, even if I would argue something like microtransactions are typically probably applied in a bad way. Yeah, or like DLC, for example, or Day 1 DLC even. Like, am I upset that Metaphor had Day 1 Shujin Academy school uniform DLC? If I'm gonna argue against this, it's probably because of the price. It probably doesn't have much to do with it being Day 1, right? Yeah. Like, all of these terms are, like, so loaded now, and it's a shame that we can't have discussions about them, because they're just, like, viewed as, like, the worst thing ever now, instead of just judging them the way, you know, based on their merit. Ryan never elaborated. I'll look back on the convo for you guys and double check that. Okay. Not about finished versus unfinished. An expanded release with more kinds is just a better product. I mean, I agree with that. Typically, it might not always be. You can make an argument that base P4 is better than Golden, but yeah, I get your point. Therefore, your purchase of a game that already has a directly better alternative makes it suboptimal and feels bad. You can say that it feels bad, but that's all it'll ever be is a feeling. Like, if Metaphor ReFantazio Retold never comes out, or it does come out, like, this version that I'm looking at right now of the game has not changed in the slightest. It is still the same game. If it was 10 out of 10 Kino before, it's 10 out of 10 Kino now. If it was 1 out of 10 abysmal dog shit, it's 1 out, like that. Yeah, it's if that's the case, it's just a feeling. Like, I'm not advocating that people would buy the lesser version of the game. If you're playing, let's say it comes out 2025. I don't think it will come out 2025. But let's say it does, okay? And in 2026, someone is like, should I play ReFantazio or should I play ReFantazio Retold? And Retold is a better version of the game? Yeah, I'm going to recommend Retold, obviously. But again, I say this the same thing about, like, when you watch a movie in theaters and then they release a director's cut, do you feel like you watch the obsolete version of the movie? Like, maybe in the sense that it's not necessarily the best version anymore, but, like, you paid for that product, you got that product, if you enjoyed that product at the time, like, I don't get the after the fact, oh my god, I can't believe they would do this. Like, it just, yeah. It feels weird not to judge it on its merits. If Metaphor feels unfinished, or feels suboptimal, or doesn't feel good, to right now, you should be able to say that regardless of there being a re-release. Just because there's a better version, yeah, I don't. Is there evidence of a re-release outside of unused files? I don't even think the unused files are necessarily evidence of a re-release. I think we're just pretty much going off the original leak here. There's a lot of unused stuff from Metaphor. Maybe the most unused content in a Atlus game, which is funny because it might take that throne from Persona 5, because Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal have an insane amount of unused content, which I'll document it one day, guys, okay? I'm sorry. One day we'll get to it. There's so much, even stuff that hasn't even been documented online that I've seen. But Metaphor has, like, I think it has, like, an entirely cut dungeon. It has, like, so much cut shit. But that doesn't necessarily mean there's a re-release. I mean, there could just be a lot of cut content from the game, right? That doesn't, yeah. Like, especially, let's say this game flopped. They would almost certainly not do a re-release, I feel. Because, like, let's say it did, like, Soul Hackers 2 numbers, there's no way they do a re-release at all, even with all the cut content, right? Now, is all that cut content going to be brought back in? I'm sure a lot of it will. I'm sure it was probably cut due to time constraints more than anything, right? But, I mean, the same thing happened with Persona 5 Royal. There was cut content from the original version of that game that made it in. Doesn't mean that content was cut so they could put it in a re-release. Yeah. There a Metaphor randomizer in the works? I haven't finished the game. We'll get to it, okay? I think it works similarly to the Persona 5 encounter file, which is nice. The main difference between DLC and re-release is you can put a lot more time and more hands on a re-release. Yep, and that's also because of the higher cost, by the way. As much as people want to cry, and they want to go, well, I just want it all to be $30 DLC, that's fine in and of itself, but always make them acknowledge it's not going to be the same as an $80 re-release. If Persona 5 Royal was a DLC, if the third semester was a DLC, it would not be as expensive. The gameplay changes likely wouldn't have happened, or at least there would have been less of them. The third semester probably would have been like smaller in scope. It would not be the same product that we have right now. Now, if you're fine with that, then that's okay. But always make them acknowledge that, because nobody will what we're all pretending. We're all acting. I guess everyone's just an actor, okay? We're all acting and we're all pretending and we're all like giving Oscar-winning performances and we're all pretending that None of this costs money or time to make, so everything always comes out the same way, regardless of price and regardless of the way it's distributed, and regardless about... That's not how it works. It's not, obviously. Commodities are made to make a profit. The more money you put into a commodity, the more you charge for it, typically will mean that you're putting more money and time into it, right? I love buzzwords and the weird subsizing of terms into 100% good and 100% bad. Yeah, but that's like Twitter. It's annoying too, because like, well, everything I'm saying, I'm not like a genius for saying all that. Like, this is intuitively, you probably know this, right? That's why I say I feel like we're just all acting and we're all putting on like Oscar-winning performances, because like I feel like there's no way you don't know this. I just feel like people get really emotional around these types of subjects. Like we said before, it does feel bad. It probably does feel bad that there's a re-release coming out when you're playing through the game or whatever, but it's just a feeling. That's all it is. Okay? It probably does feel those, oh man, I just bought this one and now they're gonna do another one years down the line or whatever. But, yeah, but like, you're not making like any sort of logical argument as to why they shouldn't do it or why it's good or why it's bad. Yeah. Like, if you want my opinion too, it's really funny. Because I guess now I'm just going to be pegged as the Atlus Glazer and like, oh my god, you're defending all their business practices. Again, I said this before we knew any of this. I said, when people asked, I said, I don't think it'll get a re-release. I see them doing DLC, not a re-release. I'd be surprised if they did a re-release. And they're doing it. So if you were to ask me, that feeling was based on the fact that I didn't know if the game necessarily quote-unquote needed one. But, like I said, anything can happen. We'll see, and maybe I'll love the re-release. Maybe I'll think it wasn't justified, and they shouldn't have done it. And I'll talk about it negatively. I can't tell you what the future holds, right? Like Persona 4. Like here, two things can exist. I think Persona 4 Golden is the better version of Persona 4. Maybe only slightly, but I like the changes to gameplay because I don't really like the new arc of the game. Marie arc is probably my least favorite arc in the game. And I don't like some things they did to the aesthetic, the fog and whatnot in the game. The fog effects are the thing people bring up the most, are way lessened or like non-existent in Golden. It doesn't look as good. So I think this is still a better version of the game, but I don't think it was a needed re-release. Like, this is a re-release I'd probably say is probably unjustified, maybe outside of the argument that it brought it to a new platform in the Vita. I don't think the new content here was substantial enough to justify a re-release. So maybe I'll feel the same way about ReFantazio Retold. But I'm not making that assumption immediately upon hearing that there's a re-release without anything else being said about it, okay? That's the difference. P5 cut Akechi Palace moment. I'm convinced that the only things that will ever come out about Akechi Palace, considering we got the betas and there was still nothing in there, will always be that one unused environment file for a palace, which was just like a bunch of fog, and the two shadow voice lines, or not even voice lines, just dialogue saying, Master Akechi, haha. I don't think any version of P5 had evidence of cut party members. There might be, but they were probably cut pretty early. I don't think there was anything as far along as the metaphor stuff. Which makes sense because things just changed over the time of development. Sometimes for creative differences, sometimes for other things. Sometimes just for time constraints, budgeting, whatever. My biggest takeaway from all this is that Screenments used to play Shin Megami Tensei 4 as soon as humanly possible. True. True and based. Episode, I guess, would have made even more sense in the base game. Maybe. I might agree, yeah. I mean, I think they used the DLC money well. Episode, I guess, is way more expensive than the original version of The Answer. But I still feel like, funnily enough, it kind of still suffers from the same, like, issues of, like, the really long gameplay sections and the pacing's just kind of off and shit. Like, I feel like it kind of still suffers from the same issues, even though they tried to use all that budget and time to fix that. It feels like to fix that. I think a lot of this mindset has to deal with how much time people invest in which version. That's probably somewhat true. People probably feel because they're spending a lot of time, they don't want to do it again. And that's fine. But that's more of a personal thing. If I'm going, well, I don't even mind if they're doing a re-release or whatever, but I don't want to play it because I don't want to play the whole game over again. That's fine, but who's forcing you to do that? Like, if they release a director's cut of my favorite movie, okay? Maybe they did. My favorite movie is Scarface, okay? I don't even know if there's a director's cut. If there was, like, that's probably the version I watched. But if they did another one right now, okay? Like, I might not watch it. I probably would. But, like, if I were like, I'm not going to watch it again. I don't want to spend 3 hours watching this movie. What? That's fine. That's fine. But that's more of like, that's not really a criticism. That's more of like a, I don't want to do this. In the same way, if I were to go, I don't want to play Metaphor at all because it's too long. Okay, that's fine. That's not really a criticism of it though. That's just like a personal, I don't want to spend all this time playing it. Yeah. So I don't know what to tell. What would be the solution to that then? Would it be doing the re-release version first? You realize that's not possible. You realize the re-release version only exists because of the original version existing. Or if it did, that means that Metaphor wouldn't have come out in October. If they were like, okay, all right, we don't even know if this game's going to be that big of a success. We don't know how much money it's going to make. We don't know if the what the criticism's going to be. We don't know any. Okay, but you know what? We're gonna push it back even more, and we're gonna put even more money into it, and we're just gonna hope. Like, they could do that, but now you wouldn't even have this version of the game anymore. And also, that would kind of be stupid from a business perspective. Stupider. I mean, it could be beneficial. Maybe the game would make even more money with even more content. Certainly a possibility, and maybe it would have been beneficial, but clearly they felt differently, and I think it's probably understandable why. Atlus never. Oh, am I wearing the shirt? Fuck! I have to show the shirt. Fuck, we're gonna do it later. Hold on, we're gonna do it now. Hold on, I'm changing. Hold on. I have to show you guys a shirt. This is completely unrelated. We're gonna get back to the discussion in a sec. Here, we press the button. Okay, good. Here, we press the button. Okay, good. Yoink, my cat now. What? Kurt, we're doing Metaphor Discourse. Don't you want to join? It's fun! We get to yell at Persona fans on Twitter! They're gonna call me too mean afterwards. They're gonna make 300 threads about me. It'll be fun. Okay, hold on. Alright, if you're in my stream right now, and this is like your first stream of mine you're watching, you're not gonna get this joke at all. But if you're a long-time viewer, this is a big payoff, okay? Do you guys remember what we sign when we do P5X polls, okay? Do you remember whose name we sign when we do those polls? Because of how fucking goated his aura is? That's right. We sign Wild fucking Woody. Alright? This guy right here. This is Kino. Fuck's Atlus, alright? This is the best game of all time. Okay? Now, I got a lot of gifts this Christmas, okay? It was cool. It was hype. But maybe the best one I got, I'm wearing right here, alright? You wanna know what it is? You wanna know? It's a Wild Woody shirt. Let's go! Meow, you like Wild Woody! Let's get this sketching! That's what he says, his catchphrase. Alright, hold on. Anyways, this is literally the best thing I've ever received in my entire life, and I'm grateful for it. Okay? I'm gonna be wearing this for the remainder of the stream now. This is how what we have serious discussions in, okay? This is the face of Atlus change. You're looking at him right here. Is the Katakachi Palace actually true? There's like lines in P5 of like shadows saying like, you know when you talk to a shadow and you like negotiate with them, you let them go, and they're like, oh, Lord Monораme's gonna... Don't fight him, he's too scary. There's a few lines that say, like, Lord Akechi and shit. And there's one environment file cut from the game that's like a bunch of fog. And it was probably made for the Akechi Palace, but that's literally all that there is. So, it was probably cut very, very early. And it wouldn't make sense with the current lore, because Persona users can't have a palace, right? So, he has a Persona, he should be able to have one. So this is probably cut really early. When the betas leaked, people were looking for more evidence of it, and I don't think there was anything. How the fuck did you how the fuck did you pronounce hold on.
Subsume.
Subsume. Was this even what I said? I don't remember. It would never happen, but would be cool if you own the first game, you could get the re-release at a slight discount. Like, I would agree, but I don't know how much. Like, I'm assuming a probably pretty significant portion of the sales on these games are the people who, bought the original as well and want to play the enhanced version. So I don't know, like, how much they'd want to do something like that. Although, Steam kind of has, like, a similar thing. I can't show you because I already own this, but, for example, this is a Metaphor X Persona 5 Royal bundle. If I already own Persona 5 Royal, I get Metaphor for cheaper. So they kind of have, like, something kind of similar if you buy Atlus. And, like, something like that would be fine. Like, I wouldn't mind, like, a slight discount. Like, yeah, 5-10%, that's reasonable, I think. To quote the screenshots I sent you, Screen. Oh, wait, you sent me screenshots? Where? Gotta check my Twitter DMs. A few porn bots in here. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. Where'd you send me them? Re-releases will vary depending on what Atlus sees fits, i.e. not being on a specific platform like SMT5, and Retold will be like P5R, so I assume an expanded latter half plus QOL that I can't fathom. Yeah, that seems reasonable to me. Seems like that'll probably be the case. Would they add new things on the re-release? Well, of course. I'd hope so. If they don't, just criticize them for it, right? Again, if you don't think the re-release has enough substantial content to be worth it, like, don't, by the way, alright, hold on. Don't let them go, yeah. Criticize the fuck out of them. Go, this re-release is not worth it. Don't buy it. Fuck Retold. Fuck this game. Fuck Atlus. You know, yeah, do whatever you have to do, yeah. And by the way, I'm coming to you as one of you, okay? I paid $90 for this game, okay? Canadian, alright? It's It's a lot. I think I bought the game a second time actually because I bought it as a gift now. So I've played this game. I bought this game twice. All right, they do a re-release. I'm in the same boat as you. I'm like, well, I bought the original, but fuck it. That's the price I pay for wanting to play it as it came out, I guess, right? I shouldn't say prices I pay because it's, like I said, it's different. It's different than being that simple. But yeah, even though I am in the Sega Key program, but I haven't redeemed any of them yet. We'll see. Maybe one day. Maybe the next game I'll get for free. Lol. Here? Okay. Should I just read these DMs? Powie, do you want me to just read these DMs out? This is a good point. Go right for it. Yeah, they're from the P5X disc. Oh, it's just they're from a public Discord anyways. Okay, so this is Ryan from the Bronx. I'm not going to show them. I'm just going to read them. This is from Ryan from the Bronx, formerly Midori. He's responding to a reply or a Discord comment that says, "Wasn't Sega officially done with expanded releases, though?" This is referring to the fact that, I think Midori was the one who said this, right? But it kind of seemed obvious, too, that Sega wants to focus more on, like, passes for their single-player games. The Persona 3 Reload expansion pass is the first example you saw, at least in an Atlus game, I think, of something like this, where they had 3 waves of content. The first wave was BGM, music. The second wave was costumes, and the third one was episode I guess. I criticized this pass quite a bit for being fucking worthless for the first 2 waves. Yeah, here they are. Wave 1, P5R EX BGM set and P4G EX BGM set. Wave 2, Velvet costume and BGM set. Wave 3, episode I guess. It's like, wow, these don't feel nearly... One of these is not like the other. One of these feels way more substantial than the other 2. So I criticized this because it felt like they were really trying to force the pass thing, when this really could have just been normal DLC, and this just could have been its own DLC. I don't see why Metaphor would get one after such critical acclaim, unless it's a release that includes the... and then it's cut off. Ryan from the Bronx says, as mentioned on Midori, they will do so depending on the title. Yeah, a lot of people have really weird reads of this whole thing, too, that Sega's working on. I don't know why people thought it meant that they'd never do re-releases ever again. It just seems like they're moving away from it in the sense that they're going to do expansion passes and DLC more, but I don't think it ever said that they were, like, done with them entirely. Some other guy in the Discord says, the only game allowed to do re-releases are the Monster Hunters because they actually deliver content. I will shame any other game trying to do so. Hey! This guy pre-watched my stream months in advance. He did the thing. He said the only games allowed to do re-releases are the ones that deliver a substantial amount of content. Look, he stole my talking point from this stream, even though these are DMs from months ago. Ryan says, so with Metaphor, since it has the same issue with SMT5 in terms of missing a platform, it will likely go for the expanded re-release route. Oh, missing a platform, is that referring to the Switch 2? Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if that's on its own enough to justify it, though. You could just port it, right? I always assume the game would just come to Switch 2 and the Switch 2 happens. Oh, fuck, I have more people from this Discord in my chat. God, I have to... Okay, hold on. I'm gonna keep reading these DMs. Whereas games that already released on all platforms will just get expansion DLC. Ryan responds to somebody in the Discord who says, wait, an expanded release, he says. Yeah, like P5R, but not sure if that's moving along yet, but it's planned, and Metaphor will be on Switch 2. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. The main difference between DLC and re-releases is you can put a lot more time and more hands on a re-release, yep. And Studio Zero are a very ambitious studio who probably saw that as a better option to explore Metaphor further. I think I already read that, didn't I? As someone who found the dungeon, there's barely any data on it. It's quite literally just a name and a number that was in between 2 other dungeons. They're referring to the cut dungeon Metaphor or Catchy? To quote the screenshots I said, okay, yeah, I read that. Adachi's social link is Kino. Yeah, maybe that did make P4G worth it. If it's being said to be blah blah blah, I like Marie. Well, fuck you. Chad Atlus would release a second P5 re-release. Fuck it, I'd buy it. Hey, you know what? It's gonna, on optics, it's the worst looking thing ever. If it's substantial enough that I think it's worth it, I would buy it. I would buy Persona 5 Royal 2, alright? And I'm tired of pretending that I wouldn't. There, now you can call me an Atlus show. Quote all of that, and just put it on Twitter. Put my make like a Dick Soto article. It'll be perfect. Wasn't there evidence Hifumi might have been a planned party member at one point early on? I don't remember what that stems from. It might just be something from the art book, I think. I think it said in the art book. I don't know if there's anything in the game to actually suggest it. It's probably cut really early. I think she was, or no. I think it was, she was designed as one or something. I don't fucking remember. I think there's a Metaphor. It's very lore heavy compared to other Atlus games. There's a lot of ideas you can take from it rather than making new ones. My guess about them, okay. He never had a palace. His shadow probably had a bigger role. I mean, maybe. but there seems to be a cut palace that would have taken place in between Sai and Shido, which is what makes it seem like a palace. And I think they even correspond with those lines, so I'm pretty sure it is a palace. I don't think 90%, 5% of the cut content will be in there, for example. Maybe one cut party member, I think that's likely. Screen enema. By the way, Han Yu, I see you in the Screen Stream Memes Discord, okay? Maybe I'll come in at one point, we'll have a discussion. Let my voice be heard, at one point. I bought Metaphor on both Steam and PS5, now with the re-release, I'll have bought the game 3 times over. Yep, I'm in the same boat, buddy. Bucko. Though, I mean, I didn't have to buy it on PS5, it's more because I just wanted to gift it, and I'm a shill. I play my games on Steam, thank you, alright? On the good old Steam platform. PC gaming, baby. I'd hope they add some more archetypes. Canadian L, that would be fucking funny. For extra context, we had a lot of random conversations in that Discord with Ryan about Retold and other stuff. Again, most were pretty convinced it would be DLC rather than a release, so it came as a surprise. Metaphor will be on Switch. Wait, Switch 1? Ryan mentioned that Metaphor will be on Switch. Can this game run on Switch? I mean, I guess it's P5 engine, but I feel like this was a little bit heavier on my PC than P5 for sure. Don't worry, you can get Persona 5 Roll 2 for free. It's called P5X. Uh-oh. Okay. Hold on. I have a lot of P5X fans in my chat. Alright, we're gonna be respectful. Yes! I love P5X Bing Chilling. Yes! I've always been a big fan of P5X. I mean, I do play it, so I guess I'm just as bad. Okay, let's see here. We really want P6 at this point? I think that we'll get a reveal this year. I think it'll be... I still hold my initial prediction from, like, late 2024. I still hold it now. I didn't think it was going to be at Game Awards. There were some things suggesting, there were some leaks suggesting there might have been, but it wasn't. I still hold my initial prediction that it'll be at the Xbox show in June this year. That's my prediction. Okay? If I'm wrong, you can stone me to death legally. Who wants to talk to some people on Twitter? I mean, alright, so this is in response to my Schrodinger's unfinished game. They said, I mean, yeah, I kind of think that, unironically, this whole thing. If you're already working on thinking on a release before you even release a base game, then maybe don't release the game. This is weird to me because, what do you mean don't release the game? Like, extend it more? Like, it's like, you're already thinking on putting more content in the game, but like what? You're not just going to unilaterally increase your budget and the amount of time on the game? Like, yeah? Why would we do that? We don't even know if this game's gonna be successful. We don't know, like, I don't even know, do people realize these are really big teams, right? Like, there's people who have a lot of creative ideas, and then only some of them make it into the game. I had a big response to this. I said, there's literally nothing suggesting the re-release is being considered before release. The leaker stated the exact opposite. I believe Powerful tweeted that they started thinking about it after the game released, the original version of the game, Metaphor. But even if they were thinking about it beforehand, like I said, it's not really that big of a deal. The leaker stated the exact opposite, plus it was never going to happen if Metaphor wasn't successful. Also, this isn't how we should judge if games are finished, unless you're willing to concede that any of the original versions of these games have the potential to also be unfinished. You should probably make that judgment based on, you know, the actual content in the game. And I went to backlogged and I went expanded game, sort by average rating, yeah, get fucked. Look, all these, like, really popular, do you guys want to argue the original version of MGS3 is, like, unfinished? Like, or, like, Disco Elysium, because it didn't have voice acting? Like, okay. Some of my favorite games ever had re-releases later, so did mine. And I'm perfectly fine with saying I love them, but they're unfinished. Okay, okay. If that's a definition we're using for unfinished, fine. But there's another person who argued this, too. This is not the definition of unfinished. At least I've never seen it used like this. Typically, when people say unfinished, they mean, like, Cyberpunk. Or, like, the story for SMT5. Also, there's a difference between Atlus's systemic releases and re-releasing the games in a year. P4G is fine as a re-release, P3FES not so much. Wait, why? Systematic releases and re-releasing the game many years later. Wait, so is the amount of time the biggest factor here? Why wouldn't it be based on the content? Am I reading this wrong? Between Atlus's systematic releases and re-releasing the game many years later. I don't get it. Why? Am I reading? Fuck it, I don't care. You said this mockingly, but it is genuinely the fuck this song. It is genuinely true minus the hyperbole. Perhaps unfinished is the wrong word, but the idea of releasing a game with part of the full vision missing, this triggered the fuck out of me. Part of the full vision missing, you mean probably every video game ever? You realize there's constraints to your vision, and it's called a budget and practicality. Like, what do you mean? The full, like, the literal full vision? Like, maybe I'm being too pedantic, but, like, I don't know. Re-releasing later is scummy as hell. It doesn't detract from the base metaphor, but it's anti-consumer. I said, with part of the full vision missing, you mean any game ever? Very rarely does everything from the original vision make it in. You should probably make this judgment based on the actual content of the game. It's anti-consumer? Really? What makes it anti-consumer? Does the original version get deleted or something? Do you also believe the same thing applies to director's cuts of movies? Are we talking about director's cuts? Yes, because it's the same thing. No, don't do this. Where the modern state of the medium allows game devs to add content to a game later. Hold on! That applies to movies too, for starters. You can do this on streaming. You can update, it's literally happened. You can update movies and shit on streaming. P5R could have been sold as P5 DLC. No, it couldn't. Ah, kill me, we're doing it. We're actually doing it in real time. You're seeing it. You're seeing what I talked about. You're actually seeing it. The re-releases and DLC are not the same thing. They will never be the same thing. I stopped engaging with Twitter arguments and this brought me back, this fucking discourse. This does apply to movies and TV in modern day. This can and has been done on streaming services. I know a really niche example. They updated the animation for Part 6 of JoJo on Netflix. Like, I know this happens. And by the way, this would even happen pre-streaming too. I mean, like little things like that. Like, didn't Blu-ray cuts of anime typically have better animation and shit? Yeah, it's just we can do it on streaming now. Like, I understand, like, that specific example of them being updated on streaming is done for free, technically, because you're only paying for the subscription, but you're still paying every month. But, yeah, I don't know. You know what? Here. As long as you're willing to admit none of the new content would be as expansive, and the amount of overhauled content would be significantly decreased or almost, or none, because it'd just be the third semester DLC, right? It wouldn't even touch the main game, just like episode I guess, right? As long as you're willing to admit that. Metaphor is unfinished, though. Law, the final third world was rushed as shit. I mean, I don't know the arguments for this. If you want to argue this, then that's fine. Incompetencies in the trenches. True. Oh, by the way, speaking of this image, don't let this distract you, by the way, from the fact that Hashino literally just ended racism with Metaphor ReFantazio. Yeah, we're still dogging on him, okay? I simply don't want to pay $70 again. When I already paid $70, I'm not getting an additional $70 again. Then don't buy it and criticize the new content if you don't think it's worth $70? Like, what? What do you mean? Okay, just, all right. Don't buy it. Don't, like, criticize it. I'm not saying don't criticize. Like, go ahead. If you don't think it's worth that cent, but like, what, like, my problem is why are we making this judgment already? We don't even know! It doesn't even exist yet! I think people just overestimate how big Atlus is, yeah, about the studio. That's kind of the point. If you're still adding stuff and planning on charging people for it already after release, that tells me you weren't really finished. That's an insane argument, but okay. I guess no live service game is literally ever finished. I guess any game that received DLC after the fact isn't finished. Okay, sure, if we're doing this. Any game that releases an update after, yeah, okay. If it's DLC and you want to get 30 or 40 for it, cool. Oh, I'm getting so triggered. Fuck! We have to stop reading these. You can look through those replies if you want to see me lose my mind. That's the stream today. We're doing Metaphor Discourse today, baby. Oh, by the way, I need to make something clear. Hold on. I saw people say things like this. I saw people say, by the way, I'm really surprised they're doing this when they keep getting so much backlash for doing it. Here's the words to live by, okay? Twitter is not a real place, and it will never be a real place, okay? Just because people give it shit on Twitter when these are literally incredibly successful and profitable re-releases, people obviously want them. People obviously buy them. The idea that people have been giving them backlash because you see a few people on Twitter making arguments like this, that people don't want them, is insane. Persona 5 Royal was incredibly successful. I'm pretty sure Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance is literally the best-selling SMT game ever. Wasn't it all-time peak when the game came out? Wasn't it close to reloads? 21,000 on Steam? Like, keep in mind, this is SMT, way less popular than Persona. Nice, nice. Nice. Persona 3 Reload. Okay, well, it was about half, but still, that's really impressive. Definitely higher than any fucking SMT game before, right? Did they ever make a public comment on the sales of this game? SMT5 and SMT5 Vengeance are sold over a combined total of 1.6 million units worldwide. Like, guys, why would they keep making re-releases when people are so angry about them? You're right, I can't figure that one out. Sales were quite good. Sega! Shin Megami... Hold on, what's the source for this? Hold on. Sega satisfied with Shin Megami Tensei 5? Oh, this is the original, actually. Hold on. No, this is the original. Oh, okay, cool. Even the original gives so well. But that makes sense, because why would you make a re-release of the original so like shit? Oh, Vengeance sales top 500,000 in 3 days. They never make like an official comment? Okay. Well, I mean, still, this is more than enough, right? Kill me. Hashino Sina, Catchy Lover 42, say metaphor re-release is not a good idea. Atlus said to fold and close. Like, you know what's hilarious to me? That, like, you can make both of these arguments in the same breath. Hey, 3,000 followers, we just hit it, hold on. Woo! The fact you can make the arguments of, like, releasing a game with part of the full vision missing and is like and re-releasing later is scummy. But it's like, if you really cared about the full vision, wouldn't this kind of be the best way to get the closest thing to it if we're releasing a re-release? Like, because what they really want is they want the full vision in the original game, even though that's impossible, right? They want as close to the full vision as you can get, closer than a re-release, or as close as a re-release in the original version of the game. But like, this is okay. Hold on, am I crazy? Let's say your budget for the original version of a game, nice, is like, I'm gonna make up numbers that don't make any sense, but that's because I don't want to go look for realistic numbers, okay? Let's say it's like $20 million, okay? You have $20 million, okay? But your vision, right, would probably cost, I mean, you probably have really big ambition. It probably would cost like 400 million. Even then, hold on. Oh, I have such good arguments. Hold on. Everyone shut the fuck up. I'm cooking. What was the budget for Marvel's Spider-Man 2? What was the budget for that game? I know where to find it, actually. Hold on. Wikipedia. Highest cost of video games. Like, to make them. List of most expensive video games to develop. I don't want to adjust for inflation for now. We're fine. Genshin Impact, 900 million. Okay, that's a live stream. Makes sense. Monopoly Go. What the fuck happened to this? What happened? What? Oh, is it less? Oh, this is less than 500. Oh, it's the table is fucking it up, I think. Star Citizen, Cyberpunk. Hey, there it is. Marvel Spider-Man 2 at $315 million. If you know anything about this game, there was an insane amount of content cut from this game. Really weird how even though they had one of the highest budgets in video games, that they still weren't able to get the full vision in. That's odd. Then we can look at games like GTA 5 and games with other, like, also really high budgets that didn't get, like, yeah. So, like, if this is like your, which you probably can't even put a number on it, but let's try for now. Let's put a number on your budget, right? On your vision. And then you got a second release of the game that is able to use all the content from this, so we don't have to pay 20 million again, because we already have all of this, right? And then we get another, let's say we get 15 million. Now we have a $35 million game that we're able to put so much more of this into, right? Like, am I fucking crazy? But, if you don't think that this re-release, was worth this, right? You don't think it was worth, if there, it's $35 million budget, so maybe you were charging, another $70 for the game. If you don't think it's worth this, criticize it. Don't let me stop you, yeah. Kill me. Like, all these blanket statements is just so annoying. Like, it's so funny when we're like, we can't do re-releases, but DLC is fine. So is it just, we just want smaller re-releases? That's all we want, really. We want smaller re-releases for cheaper, I guess. Which is fine. That's not what they're saying. If you tells me you weren't really... No, I'm just finding this. This is the stupidest statement here. So, any game that receives content post-release is unfinished. Do you know... do you know how many games? Like at this point, are a majority of modern games unfinished? Is that just what we're doing? Is like, if everything's unfinished, is anything unfinished? Like, I don't get it. How many games? It's just me. Fuck, it's entitlement. It is. Do you understand how many games get, like, day one patches now, and, like, updates over time to fix things? Like, you just don't care because they're not tangible content. When it's bug fixes, when it's, like, resolution, when it's things like that, you don't care because you're not playing the bug fix, right? It's not like a new dungeon or something. You don't even consider that new content, do you? You don't even consider that an update. Is anything finished at this point? I feel like if Sony, Xbox, Nintendo, Steam did all that, for all of Atlus's releases, it wouldn't be, no. The fact that you can't pay like $20, $30, $40 to upgrade the base game from the cheaper and have to pay full price again is absurd. I don't really think it's that absurd. I can agree with like some sort of discount maybe, like Steam, like I said, already has something similar to this, where if you have other Atlus games, you can buy them for cheaper. This bundle will be cheaper if you already own one of the things in the bundle. But, like, is that, like, yeah, of course they're charging full price for it again. They had a full price budget. They spent a full price amount of time developing it. Yeah, no shit, it's the same price as full price, yeah. even if it's not quite as much money or time as the main game. Call me crazy, because of this, exact reason I put $100 on P6 not having a re-release. For what reason? Because of this discourse? I don't think this discourse is representative of reality at all. These re-releases are really successful. The problem lies in the cost of video game development and the nature of capitalism. I mean, I don't know if this is like a capitalism like meme. Like, it is in the sense that like we're paying for commodities and commodities cost things to develop, so of course they cost things to buy. But like, Atlus doesn't have to make re-releases. They're doing it because they're profitable. They make the Metaphor ReFantazio Retold will come out because it'll make a fuck ton of money. That's why. But typically, at least I thought we did this. Typically, we're like, oh, you made this game to make a fuck ton of money? Well, that's okay, because I thought it was worth the money I paid. I thought it was really good. I thought that's how we judge it. I thought that's how we judge all games, regardless of pre-release or not. Like, I don't know, but I guess not. I think that because P6 will have a considerable amount of budget in comparison to Metaphor, so they can realize more of the vision. It'll probably have, I would assume it would have their biggest budget today, just because it's Persona 6, but I don't know. There's probably a lot of factors that go into that. A lot of it is also advertising budget, by the way, that goes, like, when I simplify these things, don't think it's literally that simple. Like, $350 million, a lot of it might be marketing, right? Like, if we look at Cyberpunk here, right? The original release is at $441 million, but 142 went to marketing. And then 174 went to development. So, like, these numbers aren't literally, but you get what I mean. It's an all-encompassing budget, right? I low-key think that upgrading the game from the 2016 P5 engine to the modern engines we're using now would be worth it almost exclusively. I mean, it would, but that's only because that could take an insane amount of time, probably. Put it into a new engine, I would be very, very surprised if that happens. I don't even know if it would be worth it. Would transparency not help to I don't know that word, hold on.
Assuage.
Assuage, I'm gonna use that. That's a good word. Most of the complaints, everything in this world is optics. Yeah, I know, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. I hate how much optics matters, but you're right, that's how you win presidencies, apparently, so. Perception overtakes reality, so the fact that there's a bunch of cut content with plans for a re-release, well, I mean, like, what are they supposed to do about cut content? Cut content is only in the files because, like, that's the way games are developed. Like, they'd probably take out as much as they could if they wanted to, but, like, you don't want to remove shit because it might break shit, and you just, yeah. People only know about the cut content because we have the tools to go into it. And I don't want to get rid of those tools. I like being able to look at cut content. I want to do YouTube videos on the cut content of these games, because cut content can be very interesting, because it gives you a whole sight into what the game could have been, or what it wanted to be at one point, or what it might have been if they had, you know, more time or more money or whatever, right? But it just wasn't. Like, that's cool to look into. I kind of, you know. The fact is a bunch of cut content with plans for a re-release. Hold on, we don't know if the cut content is going to be in the re-release. I would imagine some of it would, but that makes it sound like the content was cut for a re-release. It probably wasn't, no. Again, they have the incentive here to release the best possible product, because that'll make the most amount of money, in theory, right? Cutting things from the game to put into a re-release doesn't make sense. What you would do is you just have a new budget and you just make new content, right? For example, Persona 5 Royal had a new arc and shit. I don't think any of it was in the original game. Literally, Kasumi wasn't mentioned, Maruki, these were all new things. The new dungeon, the new AO, were all made for Royal, right? Maybe at best you might have had a few ideas floating around. That's about the extent you're gonna get, I think. That's my guess, though. But there is no cut content suggesting that. There's never any communication. Now, like, I say this, but, like, for example, I mentioned, hold on, we're gonna go play one of my YouTube videos. Like, cut content will make its way into a re-release, obviously. You don't have to recreate this content. If it's cut, you just have to finish it up. You just have to finish it, basically. And why wouldn't you, right? These might have been good ideas. For example, let's go find the great Screenments video, Persona 5 Vanilla Royal Differences in the Kamoshida arc. Let's go watch this part of it real quick. In the Kamoshida Palace. Here we go.
Once you reach the second part of Kamoshida...
I hate hearing myself. I put, like, a cuck voice on for these videos. Have you noticed that? Once you reach this part of the palace, Kamoshida will fuck your mom.
Castle, in both versions of the game, you'll be met with this elevator.
Alright, cool. We understand. I played the game.
Had a chest and a Kamoshida knew the elevator function. And once we go down, we can get into this new room.
True.
It's a pretty small room, all things considered. There's a nice waterfall, but the most important part is at the end.
So yeah, it has a will seed, but hold on, go a little bit further.
Game. For now, cast the... This is a...
Oh, did I not talk about it here? No, I didn't.
Skill that none of our party be quite useful. But hey, really breathe in these Persona 5 Royal exclusive visuals. This is vanilla footage on screen. But how could I possibly be in this Royal exclusive room in Persona 5 Vanilla?
True.
Well, I typically want to keep unused content to a minimum in this series, as it quite frankly deserves its own, but
It'll get one
since
one
it's
day,
so
guys. One day it'll get its own.
closely relevant to what we're talking about, maybe just this once. This waterfall room that has been given the task of hosting the third will seat in Kamoshida's palace was actually...
Okay, basically it was in vanilla, and there's this whole outside of
can find
the thing
what
too.
this room would have been if we use mods to go out of bounds. Using
There's a whole section that wasn't even put in Royal that was completely cut. Yeah, so this was a room cut from vanilla that found its place in Royal, right? Like, this will happen in Metaphor. Surely they will cut content in. That doesn't mean this content was cut to be put in the re-release, right? That is like that is the least charitable way of looking at it. There's never any communication on the release plans or state of the game. It'll rub off wrong to a large portion of people. But like, does it matter? Like, I don't know if it does. Like, do they have to explain to people like they're children? I guess they do. But like, hey, by the way, yes, we're doing this for money because these are commodities made to make fucking money, right? But like, yeah, maybe we didn't like intentionally make a worse game so we could make the re-release better. Maybe that's just not how things work. Maybe that's just not how, yeah. Okay. I think a Metaphor re-release would be worth it if they add an extensive amount of content. I think, yeah, for sure. It's possible. Anything could be true, right? Okay. Hey, incompetency shitting, giving shit to Dark Souls 3 in the Discord server. Don't do that. Good game. FromSoft fan, of course. Dude, we've been arguing against Persona fans this whole time. What are you talking about? They're way worse than FromSoft fans in my experience, okay? Even post Elden Ring. Is he in the chat, Incompetency? He is. Yeah, fuck you. Alright, here we go. Incompetency linked some tweets of him going off on people. We're gonna read them and see how much we agree. How would you feel this enhanced version of Metaphor ReFantazio? A lot of this Discord is spearheaded by people who don't consider that strengths that re-releases provide over DLC. Persona 5 Royal's third semester is lauded as some of the Atlus's best work, and it wouldn't have been greenlit or had the budget to be as expensive if it were DLC. True! Consumerism is a brain poison. How do you manage to believe that Atlus's content release structure is a good thing? Probably because we actually think, but that's okay. Add me, hon me, all you like. It's a reality that game development costs money. It takes a shitload of resources. A full release justifies more time and resources to make a better release. Obviously, if we get the re-release and it's not up to snuff, then yes, it's a bad idea. It all depends on nuance. I think you're stupid, respectfully. This is the... Oh, I hate this website. I hate this website! Elon Musk! Read the other quote tweets to this one. Has Atlus ever considered finishing their games before release? Good one. Can't believe Rin was cut from the original release of Catherine so they could sell us Catherine full body. Can't believe Atlus took Yoko out of SMT5 just to resell SMT5 again 3 years ago. 3 years later with new areas and a revamped story. This is a really good way of putting it, yeah. I think people genuinely believe Hashino walks around Atlus like a tyrant demanding certain characters and extra content to be cut out of it exclusively for her. Yeah, he's the director and he's like, guys, I know I wrote all this. And he like erases half the whiteboard and he's like, we're only putting 50% in. We're doing a re-release. We're gonna convince the higher ups. And it's like, but Hashino, if we cut all the content from the game, won't it be like really shitty and it won't sell anymore and then we won't be able to do a re-release at all? Shut the fuck up. I have blackmail on all the board of directors. We'll be fine. Like, by the way, it's so funny because I'm sure a counter argument someone would make to that would be, even if Metaphor was shit, it would sell poorly anyways. By the way, does anyone else think Soul Hackers 2 deserved to sell really poorly because it was such a shit game? Yeah, like, there's no... Yeah, like, the idea that they're not making the best possible game to sell the most amount of units, and they're getting a new budget to now also make the best possible re-release, so they can sell the most amount of units, makes no sense, right? The only times you would ever sacrifice quality to make more money is, in the most, like obvious examples, like, microtransactions, I guess Call of Duty would probably be a marginally better game if they gave you all the skins for free. I guess putting them behind microtransactions is probably sacrificing some level of quality, but like that's the most obvious. It's gonna make more money even if you sacrifice the quality to make people pay for it. But yeah, like can anyone actually name an example of like substantial content like this being removed for DLC? I can't imagine there's that many examples. I think Mass Effect 3 might be one. I think people said that this was a DLC that was cut. Was it this one? I don't know enough about Mass Effect 3. I only played the first game. I think it's this one. This should have been in the base game. When did this come out? Oh, it still came out a year later. But like, I know I know what it was. It's the argument I made. Hold on. This isn't fair. No. This supports my argument. People said this game had a really bad ending, right? I'm talking about a game I haven't played, so I might be a little wrong, but we'll see. I think people said this game ended really poorly, and this was like a proper, like, finish the story for the game. So you're not critiquing the re-release for not having substantial enough content, you're critiquing the original release for not being good enough, similar to how you might critique Shin Megami Tensei 5 for not being good enough in some areas, right? Yeah. COD sucks because it's basically a yearly re-release at this point. Yep. But just like, by the way, you want to see, this isn't exclusive to our fan base. Keep this in mind. You want to see people cope all fucking day, right? Where is it? Hold on. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Is it this one? The new one? Yeah. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Mostly negative reviews, right? Call of Duty in general. This one. Mixed, right? Call of Duty, and this is unfair, but is it Warzone or Warzone 2? Yeah, Warzone. Mostly negative, right? People in this fan base complain. Obviously, you can tell. They complain and they give it negative reviews, which is good. You should criticize things, right? But guess what? Then these games, Call of Duty, every time I check, highest sold games in the US or whatever, highest revenue for a game in the US, Call of Duty is always in the top 3. It's like hilarious to me. It's like, oh, okay, so all you guys negative, but then you just buy it anyway. So, like, no shit, they keep feeding you things you don't like. No wonder they keep making bad games. You just keep buying the bad games. Here at Atlus, I feel like we held them somewhat accountable. People didn't like Soul Actors 2, and the game did really poorly in terms of sales, right? And by the way, if the Metaphor re-release is going to be as bad as everyone says, it probably won't sell that well. But we'll see. Obviously, you can disagree. I'm not saying sales equals good, but I'm just saying that, like, the idea that everyone hates these re-releases while they're, like, consistently some of the highest-rated fucking games of all time, and they sell like wildfire is insane. Like, oh yeah, guys, nobody likes these re-releases. Yeah, nobody has been like, how can we pull up the sales for P5R real quick? Can we pull up Shin Megami Tensei 5 Engines real quick? Like, the idea that these games are just, yeah, I don't, God, yes, we get to do our outrage bait stream today. But unlike everyone else, at least we're outraging for the right reasons, because we're just angry at the people who are outraged. It works out. Begging people to understand the difference between a game genuinely being unfinished and an expansion of content. Wow, what? Are you telling me Metal Gear Solid 3, Silent Hill 2, every other fucking game that's gotten a re-release? What? You're telling me those weren't all unfinished? Guys, does anyone else think Silent Hill 2 was actually unfinished? That's why they had to do Restless Dreams? Anyone else think Metal Gear Solid 3 was unfinished and that's why they had to do Substance? Like, best games of all time, by the way? To play devil's advocate against Atlus, I'd like to, actually. I hate being so much on the Atlus side. I look like a dick rider, but, like, it's just that, like, the anti-Atlus people online are fucking morons. Like, it's, because this is such a stupid point of contention. To play devil's advocate against Atlus, Reload up and lied about the DLC with the premium edition and still sold the new expansion. Well, hold on. I don't know if lied would be the right term, but I agree that, that this probably shouldn't have been done the way it was. But I argued against the expansion pass. I didn't like it. I didn't like the content in it. I didn't like the way they did it. I said this was shit. But what's hilarious is that this is a DLC. Now, I'm not saying this means DLC are always bad. I just think Episode, I guess, should have been done through a DLC, just not the way it was done here. But it's just funny to me that, like, so far the worst example we have in the Atlus track record is a DLC. But I'm not saying that DLCs can't be done right. I think both should coexist. That's where my stance is. Re-releases and DLC. But yeah, I think they did like a digital deluxe and digital premium, and then people bought this digital premium being like, all right, we have all the DLC, and then a month later they announced this. This probably should have been announced. Oh, hold on. Hold on.
What's up, homie? Huh?
Boom. GTA 5 was a good game. Big Cheat, another 15! Big Cheat's going crazy, all right? It's because Christmas just passed, all right? He's got all that Christmas money, and he's going to give it to your boy Screen. He's a generous guy, donating to keep the stream running and keeping my brain fueled so I can argue with all these people online and not fully lose my mind. Metaphor re-release funding, thank you. I'm gonna put this.
Has just donated 14 Canadian dollars and 40 cents.
True.
Metaphor re-release funding.
I'm gonna go donate this to Hashino and his team right now, so they can go make another re-release. I'm gonna say, don't put this money towards the Metaphor re-release. Put this towards the second Metaphor re-release that we do of the re-release. Do that one. And we're gonna create a big enough fund that they do it. Still review bombed to hell and back, but they don't care because they're making money. Yeah, but to be fair, I don't know how well this expansion pass did. My guess is it probably made a profit. It probably wasn't the most expensive thing in the world to make though. But like, I don't know if this was like super successful. This DLC. And it shouldn't have been. This wasn't that good. I mean, I thought Episode X was okay. I'm not the biggest fan of it. But that's more just for actual criticism of the game itself. But the way this expansion pass was done was just in the stupidest way possible. But the digital premium edition came out, and like they should have at least said there was going to be more DLC coming down the line. I think transparency. I do agree that it should exist in some respect. We did bring up the optics thing, but I don't think this is like an optics thing. I think it's like transparency can be good. Just in general, you should be transparent with the people you want to buy your games. Yeah, like, and this is probably something worth being transparent about. Maybe they wanted to surprise release it, but I don't know if it was worth it if that was the case. Like there's some things that I like, when I say they shouldn't be transparent about some things, I'm like, do they need to explain how, like, commodities under capitalism work for anyone to understand why re-releases and DLC and shit like this exists? Like, that I think is a bit much. You shouldn't have to fucking teach these people. But, like, something like this, which is totally in their hands, right? Just, like, releasing more content after already having all this DLC and shit, this probably should have been at least mentioned. Or the easiest way, for what I would say, if I guess fuck it, we're just doing 100 editions for every video game now. I think there should only ever be one edition, and it should always just be the all DLC version. That's what it should be. There should be the regular version and the all DLC edition. I don't like multiple because it just feels stupid to me. But whatever. If we're doing it this way, there should have been another edition below this that should have been ultra premium or something, and that should have come with the answer. Just, like, always be transparent. Like, this looks like you're buying the version of the game with all the DLC, and you're not. It's just good marketing, too. Like, people don't like being led astray. Well, I don't want to buy this again. Hold on. People don't want to be led astray. How many re-releases for the same game would you buy? This is a bit of a loaded question. It's a hard, because the answer is technically, I guess, infinite. Like, to me, right, what justifies buying a re-release would be, do I think the re-release is substantive enough for me to want to buy it, right? Do I think it added enough content? For example, I use Persona 5 Royal and Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance as examples of favorable re-releases. These are good re-releases to me. So, because of that, like, I buy them. I'd be like, yeah, this is worth buying, right? So if you can technically just keep going and do, like, Royal 2, Royal 3, Royal 4, Royal 5, Royal 5, like, I guess if they're all worth it, then sure. So technically the answer is an infinite amount, but it would depend on how substantial all those re-releases are. But the reality is that one re-release will probably be all you ever see, and then you'll probably maybe down the line see remakes or maybe re-releases far into the future, like probably a decade off, because, and the reality is re-releasing so many things within so many similar things within a amount of time like that will just decrease interest, right? Like I say, it would need a substantial amount of content, but I guess also, like, I'm a human being, I'd also need to be interested in it, and maybe I'd be like, do I really want to play Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance 40? You know, the one that added even more demons and even more, Jesus Christ, right? Like, am I just tired at this point? Do I even care? Yeah. So that might be another factor, right? It'd be like an oversaturation of the game. I don't really try to count oversaturation when I critically analyze things, but like, I do because you always, every piece of art you're ever judging is always based on its contemporaries, right? If The Boss Baby was the only movie to ever exist, it'd probably be an amazing movie because, wow, you've never seen, you can animate things in 3D, what the fuck is even CGI, right? What's all this you're talking, and what's all, yeah, and like, so like, everything is technically judged in comparison to its contemporaries. Not only its contemporary, just in the landscape in general. So, yeah, in a way, you probably wouldn't want to oversaturate things. It probably would hurt the quality of the game, even if it's kind of in a meta way. Boss Baby is peak, okay? Getting real big Boss Baby vibes. Boss Baby is an amazing movie? Whoa, when did I ever say it wasn't, okay? I've definitely seen the Boss Baby, guys. Like the Boss where he Boss Babies all over everyone. How many re-releases would you buy? Okay, a good example of base content being cut and sold off as DLC is Asura's Wrath. I'm gonna Google what this is. Oh, I think I've heard of this game. They cut the true ending from the game and sold it off. Probably the most egregious example. So is that a DLC? Okay. Yeah, that's probably pretty bad. Yeah, especially if it's like day one or something. Yeah. But again, you'd more so critique the base game itself, right? You're saying the base game does not have a good ending. Why is it DLC? This should have been in the base game, right? Like, what I'm arguing for when I argue re-releases, I'm saying that, like, if you expect everything that's going to be in whatever metaphor re-release comes out to be in the original game, you're just being unrealistic and stupid. And you're no longer judging metaphor based on its content. You're basing it on its re-releases content, which is fucking stupid. Okay. What else am I being linked? I don't have enough in me, dude. They keep being triggered all the time. I'm kidding. I'm not that mad, okay? I have to, oh, hold on. You can't say this is kind of fucky. I'm loving this game a lot, but hearing there's a release on the rise when I bought the game for less than a minute makes me feel miffed. It's the feel again! I think I'm close to the end, so I can see where they put more stuff in, but I'd buy more DLC in a heartbeat. You can be miffed on a personal feeling level, but that's all it will ever be, is a feeling. Logically, your game has not been made any worse because of a re-release. Like, if you want me to make arguments like this, like, if they were to delist the original, which, by the way, I think they did with SMT5, so I was like, don't do that, Atlus, that's bad, that's a bad thing, they shouldn't have done that, right? If you, like, delist the original, or even though it's not even taking away from the current, like, everyone who still owns it, but you shouldn't delist it. There should be accessibility. That's a totally different argument, kind of. It's for accessibility of games, but I don't like when they do that. They shouldn't be delisting the original versions of games. But like, if they released an update to like Metaphor after the remake came out, and they were like, we just removed half the content. Get fucked. Go buy Retold. Get fucking shit on. I don't even know if they could legally do that, but like, sure. But like, that's not what's happening, right? But yeah, I'm pretty sure there's almost certainly regulation. I don't think you just retroactively make the quality of your game worse to sell an expanded version. Yeah, definitely sounds like lawsuit core. Oh yeah, I responded to this too. I feel like Meowthcat is exclusively like engaging with the arguments that are like the lowest quality and really stupid, and I don't know why. He said, okay, so hold on, we'll go with, so in Capitalism, yeah, they had a good argument, but then let's read it. Yes, Atlus re-releases are some of their best games, but they are not $70 less than a year later best. Talking about this so soon already has people regret buying the original, and that's bad for business. Like, I don't know who said the game was coming out less than a year later. I don't even know if that's true. And also, I'm talking about this so soon already has people regret buying the original. Like, why is this what we're focusing on? Is it just people regret posting now over a game that might not even exist? Like, if people can only engage on the level of pure emotion, of the timing, then why do we care about their opinions at all? Atlus releases have been incredibly successful and profitable despite what a few 80 IQ Twitter users claim. True. Like, if people are going to soy out about it, who fucking cares? Oh, it being profitable doesn't negate it being a scummy practice, just like how loot boxes and battle passes are profitable, but most people think they're a scummy practice. Expanded re-releases can be a scummy practice, but that probably depends on how the re-release is done. Everyone here is an actor. They're all going for their Oscar right now, and they're doing amazing jobs. This guy is doing an incredible job of acting like a straw man. He's doing a great job of acting like somebody who wants to trigger me, and he's literally cinema. Kino. This is the best scene I've seen in my life. He's such a good actor. He's doing the best job at acting by making false equivalences and providing the worst possible arguments. That's his character. This guy, he's in the new Marvel movie, and he's playing bad arguer man. Bad arguer man, and he's 10 out of 10. He needs to be brought back for Secret War. He's doing amazing. Okay, I'm good. Probably depends on how the re-release is done. They are not inherently bad things. I guess it was never confirmed they were going to stop doing re-releases, but the people are under the impression from other leakers that's why they were going to stop. So people read those quotes wrong, I'm pretty sure. Someone can link it, because I don't remember the exact quotes, but I'm pretty sure what they were talking about was that Sega was moving towards expansion passes. Not that they were getting rid of re-releases in general. And, like, it's so obvious that, like, just moving towards, like, does everyone just think that, like, yes, they're doing expansion, they're doing DLCs now, yes, all of our problems are fixed. Like, didn't you guys hate Episode Igus? Justifiably so? Like, the Reload expansion pass? Like, do you think that just solves all your issues now? Like, why do we just have to, like, put these in boxes of, like, good and bad? Loot boxes are designed to exploit people 9 out of 10 times, if not more. Yeah, loot boxes are probably usually pretty bad, yeah. But that's because gambling is bad. That's, like, the type of thing that, like, it's not even, like, this is, like, how do I explain? Okay, this is not a favorable comparison. I want you to understand this is a false equivalence, okay? When you compare re-releases to loot boxes, this is a false equivalence. Why? It's a false equivalence because the comparison here should be microtransactions. Microtransactions can be favorably done. They can be done in good and bad ways, just like expanded re-releases. Things like loot boxes, well, that's a lot more difficult to defend, but now this is a specific thing. Like, that's not a false equivalence. Now we're getting more specific. You have to understand, when people make equivalences, see how specific they're getting. Because right now we're comparing this to expanded re-releases, a very general, broad concept, and we're focusing on loot boxes and battle passes, which are the easiest things to focus in on because they're not compared. What you should be saying is microtransactions are profitable, but most people think they're a scummy practice. And then I'd say, yeah, but microtransactions, just like expanded re-releases, can also be done well. Yeah. This was also an interesting perspective. So that was ever considered finish your games before release? And Consistency says, the game is fucking finished, you fucking dipshit. Do you Neanderthals have no concept of how game development works? Finished games don't get re-releases a couple years later. That add a whole expansion per pass worth of content, you're just meat riding. Finished game means playable from start to finish with minimal bugs and ideally a satisfying conclusion. This is a little general. There's, where do my channel points go? Oh, shit, I turned off channel points during Game Awards. I have to turn them back on. We'll do it soon. Finished game means playable from start to finish with minimal bugs and ideally a satisfying conclusion. This is a little general. I think there's a little bit more for a game to be considered like unfinished or finished, right? Like, but sure, it gets a point across. You could say all fighting games drop unfinished just because they get expansion through characters and stages down the road. You're using an odd definition of finished then. I would actually say a fighting game is unfinished until it's done getting characters and patches. This is like, it's funny, because when I read this first one, I'm like, this is a really weird definition of finished. And then they're saying, you have a very odd definition of finished. Like, would you say that Smash Ultimate was an unfinished game when it came out? And it was only finished after all the DLC came out? Or like if Melty Blood type Lumina, like that game wasn't finished until it got all its updates? Hold on, when it dropped, when Smash Ultimate dropped, was it finished because they didn't announce DLC, but then they did, so it was unfinished again, and now it's finished again. Oh no, then it was finished again after DLC Pack 1. Oh no, DLC Pack 1, where am I? Like, the idea that like, sure, if you want to go by this definition, but just understand this is not how anyone uses the term finished or unfinished. No, it's just not how people use this term. Thing is, in a fighting game, I don't have to pay for the base game again every time a DLC character comes out. Yeah, because why would you do a whole re-release for just characters? Unless this was like the PS2 era. Yeah, that is something that should be DLC. But characters in a fighting game aren't equivalent to the content in these re-releases. You used to, but it was able to shift to DLC because of changes in how they're handled industry-wide. Atlus re-releases are done because they're significantly more ambitious than the scope of DLC would allow. True. Get this man a true. Get him a true. Okay. Well, we got anything else?
I think that was good.
Incompetency?
No, I don't think so.
We all good on this front? Have we solved yet another discourse on the Screenments live stream?
Capping it off. Okay. Re-releases can be good if the time that they're given and the money that they cost are justified by the content that they add. If they don't, P4G, maybe even Strange Journey Redux, depending on who you ask. Bad examples. Good examples of re-releases done right. P5R, Vengeance. Big, expansive re-releases that add a lot of content to the game that is very well received. But at the end of the day, it has to be worth it. I mean, you can't just say they suck on the principle, because that's dumb. A lot more to it than that.
Incompetency?
What do you think?
I think re-releases are always bad, and they're bad business practices. And Atlus, okay, released an obsolete, unfinished game, named Metaphor last year, and I am astounded that it was even up for Game of the Year when it should have been up for Rip-Off of the Year. It should have been up for Scam of the Year, because I've been fucking scammed. And you know what? You know what I'm gonna do about it? You know what I'm gonna do about it?
What are you gonna do?
You wanna know what I'm gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna buy Retold. Okay, so that's normally where this video would end. But I wanted to end on a positive note, and I had a conversation with someone on Twitter about this afterwards. That was actually, I think, really good. I don't give any new arguments I don't think I gave in the video, but it's just a really simple restating of my position. I think it's a really good summary of what I think, and if you were to link somebody this video, for example, and try to show them my position, this would be the simplest and most basic but enlightening way to kind of summarize it. So yeah, Incompetency was arguing with this Twitter user, and I kind of butted in, and I was a little mean, but I figured that they weren't engaging with the conversation, and eventually they got to a point where they said, hey, I want to engage, unblock me, and I unblocked them, and this is what followed. To be clear, as you can see in the screenshot, I'm following them now, they're following me. It ended very nicely. In this thread, I took back some of the things I said because I actually, they did end up engaging in a good way, I think, so I was wrong about that. And yeah, I'm just gonna read the thread out to you, okay? So after we unblock and everything, they say, alright, genuine question. Why can't these just be DLCs instead of just re-releases? Why does selling the same game all over again warrant it being any different? I genuinely want to know. I respond, genuinely good question. Funnily enough, I thought a DLC would be a better fit for Metaphor than a re-release, and still hold this opinion now. Though anything is possible. So my personal opinion would actually be closer to DLC than re-release. My issue with this discourse comes from the fact that people pretend that both the DLC and re-release road would lead to the exact same product. Let's say this DLC was $40 and the re-release was $70. The DLC would make less money due to the lower price point. Therefore, with lower profit margin projections, the game would inevitably be given a lower budget and less time, leading to what's likely to be a smaller or worse product. Now, if someone thinks this is a better fit for Metaphor, like me, and the resources for a re-release are better allocated somewhere else, then that's totally fair. I just want people to acknowledge that there will be a difference. I'm simplifying a little here, but I think my position should be clear enough. They respond, there might be a difference, but seeing other $40 DLCs be packed with just as much content as a standard Atlus re-release, I do not think it would be as significant as you're making it out to be. I respond, it's possible that other game companies would allocate more funds to a $40 DLC than Atlus Sega would. In fact, I'd be shocked if no gaming company would do so. However, even if they were willing to allocate more, the same argument could be applied to the re-release. So even if Atlus Sega did allocate more money towards these things, that increase would go both ways, and the re-release would still have the higher budget / time frame in the end, and at the end of the day, the budget would never go higher than any realistic profit projections. Also, while I don't doubt it's probably possible to do the story / gameplay overhauls Atlus does in their re-releases with a DLC, it would be much more fucky in that form. Consider this. Persona 5 Royal uses the fact that you are forced to play the re-release from the beginning again to integrate new story points, most notably the building of Kasumi and Maruki, into the existing story. With a DLC, you either wouldn't be able to do this, or you would have to force players to replay the game from the start anyways, so this method of expansion is totally inaccessible. Let me also just take a second to say I'm sorry if I was too aggressive in my tweets towards you earlier. I didn't think you'd be even with this willing to engage, so I may have made some false assumptions about you. I apologize for that. They respond, it's fine, there's no harm done. I still do not understand why re-releases have to be the only profitable way, but I'm not upset. After all, it's just video games. I respond to that saying, well, I do think DLCs can be profitable as well. To be clear, and like I said, it's definitely the best route for some games. For example, P3R making Episode I Guess a DLC instead of a re-release made perfect sense, and while again, anything could be possible, and there might be a reality where I see a P3R re-release so good that I feel it was justified. But it definitely didn't need that extra budget / time. In fact, if possible, I would take an even smaller / lower budgeted version of the Episode I Guess content if it meant it could have been bundled with the game and not a DLC at all, since I thought the DLC was just kinda okay and I don't know if it needed all that. They respond with, I will say this, the only way I would justify a P3R re-release is that if it comes with Episode I Guess and a Katone route that supports Episode I Guess, something that neither version ever did. I'll also add back all that shit that got cut out from FES. That's kind of where the conversation ends. I mean, there were a few interactions we shared after that, but basically, it was kind of nice to just end this on a positive note. And even though things started shaky in this specific conversation, it was nice that it was able to end civilly, you know, and kind of nice. I feel like this conversation brews a lot of hate. And I engage with that hate and respond hatefully to hate. That's always been, whether sometimes it's for the better, sometimes I feel like it's for the worse. It might be a toxic trait of mine, I won't lie. But I think it's nice when we can like actually just have like a discussion about it, and like it doesn't feel like we're just screaming, you know, tribalist blanket statements at each other. That's nice. It's nice to know that it can happen, even on Twitter. Anyways, that's all I got for now. Subscribe to the channel if you like this, like the video. Yeah, I got more videos coming out on all stuff Atlus, baby. All right, so keep watch, and more opinions just like this that you can disagree with, and send me death threats over. See ya.